problem. So today's discussion is regarding the part of the oral cavity, that is nothing but the tongue. See, what do you mean by tongue? Tongue is an freely movable muscular organ, and where it is present means it is present in buccal cavity or attached to the floor of the buccal cavity. And what is the structure which attaches the tongue to the floor of the buccal cavity means it is called as nothing but the frenulum. Like superior labial frenulum which attaches the upper lips to the tongue, and then the labial frenulum which attaches the lower lip to the tongue, lower lip to the gum. Similarly here, an fold which is present in the oral cavity which attaches the tongue to the floor of the buccal cavity, that is called as frenulum. And if you look at the tongue or the surface of the tongue, so near its base there is a presence of inverted V-shaped structure. This inverted V-shaped structure which divides the tongue into two parts, that is the basal part is the pharyngeal part, and the anterior one is called as oral part. So the basal one is called as pharyngeal part which is present near the pharynx, and the anterior one is called as oral part. And the structure which divides that tongue into pharyngeal part and then the oral part is called as sulcus terminalis. What is called as sulcus terminalis. So what do you mean by sulcus terminalis? An inverted V-shaped structure on the surface of the tongue which divides the tongue into pharyngeal part and then the oral part is called as sulcus terminalis. So sulcus terminalis is an inverted V-shaped structure which divides the surface or the tongue into two parts. What are those two parts? That is the oral pharyngeal part and then the oral part. So that is what the structure called as sulcus terminalis. Remember these two structures in the tongue, they are very important for the NEET examination. Frenulum is meant for attachment of tongue to the floor of the buccal cavity, and sulcus terminalis is an inverted V-shaped structure, divides tongue into two parts. So next is, when you observe the tongue, on the surface of the tongue you can also see the presence of projections, and those projections are nothing but, these projections are called as minute projections which are present over the surface of the tongue. These are called as papillae. So what do you mean by papillae then? So on the surface of tongue, minute projections present and are called as, those projections are called as, they are called as papillae. Some of these papillae contains taste buds and some of the papillae doesn't have taste buds. So there are different type of papillae are present. So let's discuss regarding the types of papillae. Before that, make a note of these points now. So what are the types of papillae which are present on the surface of tongue? So there are 4 different type of papillae are present. They are nothing but here: circumvallate papillae, fungiform papillae, foliate papillae, and the filiform papillae. So here the circumvallate papillae. So these circumvallate papillae are the largest papillae, are the larger size papillae. So these are larger in size and with taste buds. They contain taste buds and larger in size. And what is their shape means? So they have inverted V-shaped structure. So what is the shape of the circumvallate papilla means? They are arranged as inverted V shape. These are arranged as inverted V shape. That is what the arrangement of circumvallate papilla. Next is fungiform papillae. So these are a red dot like. These are red dot like and these are red dot like and are mushroom shaped. These are mushroom shaped papillae which are uniformly distributed all over the surface of the tongue. So that which are numerous or which are abundant papillae means that is nothing but the filiform papillae. See these filiform papillae, these are numerous. These are numerous means abundant or present in more number, right, and are without taste buds. Okay. Next, here fungiform papillae also contains taste buds, but foliate papillae, so these are absent in humans. These are absent in humans. Why? Because their taste buds get degenerated during childhood itself, so that these foliate papillae will not be present in the humans. And what is their shape means? They are leaf shaped. They are leaf shaped, so only they are called as foliate papillae. Foliate papillae. So these are the 4 different type of papillae which can be observed over the surface of the tongue. Next, so which regions of the tongue are meant for tasting the different type of taste? Okay, see here the tip of the tongue, which is meant for tasting the sweet, and then the sides of the tongue behind the tip, so it is meant for tasting salt, and the sides of the tongue which are meant for sour taste, and the base of the tongue which is meant for tasting bitter. So the part are the areas of tongue meant for tasting or sensing different taste. So what are those means here? Only the tip means it is meant for tasting or sensing sweet taste. Next, tip as well as sides, that is anterior sides of the tongue, that is meant for tasting salt, and only the sides at the basal region, they are meant for tasting the sour or the sensing sour taste, and similarly the base of the tongue, that is meant for sensing bitter taste. Then what about the taste called as spiciness? Is the spiciness is called as a taste?
Sir, due to the swelling of taste buds present.
Yes. So any taste buds are present in order to sense the spiciness of the chilies, and the spiciness of the chili can be considered as a taste or not? Okay, let's discuss that one. Before that, make a note of these points now. See, what about the spiciness of the chilies? So you may be surprised to know that one, there are no taste buds present in order to sense the spiciness of the chilies. So no taste buds are present for sensing spiciness of chilies. Then what that spiciness is called as? And the spiciness is because of inflammation of the taste buds. And spiciness is because of inflammation of taste buds. So spiciness is not a taste, it's just an inflammation of the taste buds only. Then one more very important fact is that one, in the surface of tongue of the dogs, the sweat glands are present. Where the sweat glands are present in dog means, so dog has sweat glands in tongue. So you might have observed the dog that it keep its tongue outside the, means always open outside the mouth, right? Why it happens means in order to saliva, but in order to release the, what is that one, sweat, right? So as it is having the sweat glands in the tongue, right, and it very oftenly secrete the, what is it, sweat from the tongue, and that process is called as panting. Okay, so it keep secreting or excreting the sweat through tongue by keeping its tongue outside to mouth, and is called, and that process is called as, and this is only called as panting. So what do you mean by panting? So dog, as it has the sweat glands in the tongue, so it keep its mouth outside to the mouth, so it keep its tongue outside to the mouth in order to excrete or secrete the sweat through the tongue. So only that process is called as panting. Any doubt in this one? So this is regarding the tongue. Is that clear? Okay. See, the next part is the pharynx. So what do you mean by pharynx? Is a common passage for the food and air. The pharynx is a common passage. So it is a common passage for food as well as air. So food as well as the air both passes initially through the common passage or the same passage, that is only called as a pharynx. Then this pharynx further opens into esophagus. So before that, what happens here? This pharynx, at the base of the pharynx, there is a presence of lymphatic tissue, and that lymphatic tissue is called as tonsils. And the lymphatic tissue at pharynx as pharyngeal mass of lymphatic tissue is called, that is only called as tonsils. That lymphatic tissue which is present at the pharynx is called as tonsils. So the arrangement of these tonsils in the form of ring-like manner or the format, and that ring-like format is called as Waldeus ring. So these tonsils arranged in the form of a ring-like structure, which is called as, that is only called as Waldeus ring. So what are those tonsils which are arranged in the form of a ring-like format means? See, for example, initially the nasopharyngeal tonsils are present. Nasopharyngeal tonsils. These nasopharyngeal tonsils, after that the tubal tonsils and so here is the presence of tubal tonsils. So after that one, next the palatine tonsils. Palatine tonsils. Next, lastly, so these tonsils, finally, there is a presence of another type of tonsils. What they are called as means here, these are called as lingual tonsils. So their arrangement is in the form of ring-like structure. So only this arrangement is called as a Waldeus ring. So how many different type of tonsils are there here means that is nasopharyngeal tonsil, tubal tonsils, palatine tonsil, and then the lingual tonsils are present. Their arrangement gives a ring-like structure that is only called as Waldeus ring. Remember, this is also one of the most happening question for the NEET examination. What the Waldeus ring refers to means it refers to the arrangement of tonsils at the pharynx region. So what do you mean by tonsil means the mass of lymphatic tissue present at the pharynx region is called as tonsils. Okay. So this pharynx further opens into which opens into a narrow tube that is called as esophagus. Then further this pharynx opens into a narrow tubular structure. What that narrow tubular structure is called as means that is esophagus. So the next part of the alimentary canal is esophagus. Make note of these points now. See, as the pharynx is a common passage for the food as well as the air, right? So, but esophagus is called as a food pipe. So only food and the water must enter into the esophagus, right? Into the trachea or the windpipe only air should enter. Then how that differentiation of these passages takes place? Not to allow the food into the lungs or the trachea, right? So what is the arrangement is present for that separation means here? The opening of windpipe is called opening of windpipe. So here windpipe is nothing but a trachea. So that opening of windpipe is called as glottis. And the opening or closing of this glottis is mainly controlled by cartilaginous flap that is called as epiglottis. So opening and closing of glottis is controlled by an cartilaginous flap like structure and cartilaginous flap that is called as epiglottis. So this structure is called as epiglottis. So what is the function of this epiglottis means? It prevents the entry of food or the water into trachea during swallowing. So this epiglottis which prevents the entry of food or water into trachea during swallowing. So during the swallowing of food, what happens? The glottis get closed by epiglottis, so it prevents the entry of food or water into the trachea. Okay, so let's discuss regarding the esophagus now. So that the entry of food only takes place into the esophagus, but food will never enter into the glottis or the opening of the trachea. Because of the presence of epiglottis, it prevents the entry of food into the trachea. So, next is esophagus is a thin-walled, a straight tubular structure, thin-walled and a straight tubular structure. It moves through or it passes through the neck, thorax and diaphragm. So what do you mean by diaphragm? It's a muscular membrane which separates the abdominal cavity from the thoracic cavity. So esophagus passes through the structures such as the neck, thorax and then the diaphragm. And finally, this esophagus opens into an J-shaped muscular bag that is called as stomach. And finally, esophagus opens into an J-shaped muscular bag-like structure. What that muscular bag-like structure is called? That muscular bag-like structure is called as stomach. And opening of this esophagus into the stomach, that is guarded by an sphincter, and that sphincter is called as gastroesophageal sphincter. Why? Because here the esophagus opens into the stomach. The gastro refers to stomach. So the sphincter which controls the opening of esophagus into the stomach, that is called as gastroesophageal. At the opening of esophagus into stomach, sphincter is present, and that sphincter is called as gastroesophageal sphincter, which is called as gastroesophageal sphincter. Remember the name of the sphincters which are present at the different parts of the alimentary canal. They are also very important for the CET or the NEET examination. So this is regarding the esophagus. So as the esophagus passes the food from pharynx into the stomach, so it also becomes the part of the alimentary canal, and it is mainly called as a food pipe. So make a note of these points regarding the esophagus now. So the next part is stomach, and as you already know that one, stomach is an J-shaped muscular structure. So this stomach, it has three parts. What are those three parts? Means the first one is called as cardiac stomach, and the second one is called as fundic region, and the third one is called as pyloric stomach. So what do you mean by cardiac stomach? Means part of the stomach into which the esophagus opens is called as cardiac stomach or cardiac portion of the stomach. So cardiac stomach is nothing but into which are the part of stomach into which esophagus opens. Esophagus opens. That is called as a cardiac stomach. Then the part of the stomach which is raised above the cardiac portion is called as the fundic region. So this is called as a fundic region, which is a raised portion above cardiac stomach, that is called as the fundic region. And the last one is the pyloric stomach, which opens into duodenum. So the last part of stomach which opens into this one, opens into duodenum, part of small intestine, small intestine, that is called as pyloric stomach. So the last one is pyloric stomach. So like this, there are the three parts present in the stomach, and stomach is an J-shaped muscular bag-like structure. Then what is the location of the stomach? What is the location of stomach? Where this stomach is present? What is the location of the stomach? The stomach is present at upper part of the abdominal cavity. Whether the left or the right means, that is upper left part of the abdominal cavity, right? So stomach is located at the upper left part of abdominal cavity. Below lungs are the thoracic cavity. So only its location is upper left portion of the abdominal cavity, just below the lungs or the thoracic cavity. That is what location of the stomach. Then here, part of the esophagus which opens into the, what is that one? Cardiac portion of the stomach, that is controlled by a sphincter present here, what is called as gastroesophageal sphincter. Similarly, when the pyloric portion of the stomach which opens into the duodenum region of the intestine, then here the opening of stomach into the duodenum of the small intestine is also controlled by another sphincter, and that is called as pyloric sphincter. Now it is called as a pyloric sphincter. Then the stomach or the pyloric stomach opens into duodenum of small intestine through what is the structure called as a pyloric sphincter. So regarding that we will discuss in the intestine. Now make a note of the points regarding the stomach. So now let's discuss regarding the chambers which are present in the parts which are present in the stomach of the ruminant organisms, like the cattle, sheep, goat, camel, or the deer, right? So in these organisms, the four chambers are present. They are called as rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. So through the esophagus, the what food enters into the rumen first. This is what called as rumen. Then from the rumen it enters into the another chamber within that one, within the stomach, called as reticulum. From the reticulum, then the partially digested food that enters into the mouth again, so which is called as cud, that is called as cud. So again they chew it properly, and then through the esophagus, then that cud enters into the third chamber of the stomach, which is called as omasum. From the omasum, then it enters into, then it enters into the part which is called as abomasum. So how many chambers are present in that one? There are 4 chambers are present, right? The one is rumen, next one is reticulum, next is omasum, and the fourth one is abomasum. Then from the abomasum, it opens into small intestine. So this is how the 4 chambers will be present in ruminant organisms. And the particularly one of the part will be absent in case of what is that one organisms called as the camel and deer. What is that? So here this omasum is absent. This omasum is absent in case of the camel and deer. So in deer and camel, what is that? Omasum part will be absent, and only 3 parts will be present, that is rumen, reticulum and abomasum. So these points are also very important for the NEET examination. So the next part for the discussion is the small intestine, and the small intestine also have 3 parts only. It has 3 parts. What are those means? The first one duodenum, next is jejunum, and then the ileum. So here duodenum is the U-shaped structure. The U-shaped initial structure is called as duodenum, into which the stomach opens. In some of the books it is mentioned as C-shaped, and in some of the books it is mentioned as U-shaped. Next, jejunum is the long coiled structure. It is a coiled structure, or the long coiled middle structure. The middle structure is called as jejunum. And ileum is the longest and highly coiled portion of the small intestine. And note that here the stomach which opens into the duodenum is guarded by the presence of an sphincter that is called as nothing but here the pyloric sphincter. So pyloric sphincter that guards the opening of stomach, that is pyloric stomach, into duodenum region of small intestine. So remember the name of this sphincter. It is called as a pyloric sphincter. And also there is the presence of special structures or tissue in small intestine. What is that one means? There is a presence of lymphatic tissues, or the patches of lymphatic tissues. There is a presence of patches or lymphatic tissue in small intestine as white patches. These white patches of small intestine, or white patches of the lymphatic tissue in the small intestine, are called as Peyer's patches. Those are called as Peyer's patches. And what is the function of this Peyer's patches, or the Peyer's of patch? So they fight against,
What is it, sir?
yes, they fight against diseases. They fight against disease or the disease causing agents, means they provide immunity to the body.
Phagocytic activity.
Yes. So they are the part of the defense mechanism. So this is regarding the small intestine. See, the next one is the large intestine. So it also has 3 parts. So what are those 3 parts? Means that is, the first one is called as cecum. The first one is called as cecum, and the second one is called as colon, and third one is called as rectum. So let's discuss about one by one in detail. So what is the cecum means? It is the first part of the, which is the first part of large intestine, into which the ileum of the small intestine opens. Into which the ileum of small intestine opens. Small intestine opens through an wall called as that is ileocecal wall. Okay, and guarded by, this opening is guarded by wall called as that is ileocecal wall. Then this cecum acts as a host for the symbiotic microorganisms. The cecum hosts symbiotic bacteria. Where do you find the presence of symbiotic bacteria in our body? Means they are present in the cecum region of the large intestine. Then the cecum gives rise to the extended portion or the finger-like projection that is called as vermiform appendix.
Vestigial organ.
Then from the cecum projects an finger-like structure. What it is called as? That is vermiform appendix, which is called as vermiform appendix. And this vermiform appendix is an vestigial organ. In humans. So there is no use from that vermiform appendix in the human beings. So it is considered as a vestigial organ. So next is regarding the colon and then the rectum. The second part is the colon. So the cecum opens into colon. This colon has again 3 parts. This colon also has 3 parts. What are those 3 parts? Means that is, the first one is ascending colon. Second one is descending colon, and the third one is the second one is transverse colon, and third one is descending colon. So the diagram which represents the human digestive system, there you can see ascending colon, transverse colon, and the descending colon, right? So these are the 3 parts of colon. So here what happens, maximum reabsorption of the water takes place, and also if certain drugs are present are associated with in that digested food, means they will also get absorbed in this colon only. And the third part is the next or the last part is rectum. So what do you mean by rectum means? Rectum is a straight and extendable part of the large intestine. Is an straight and expandable the part of a large intestine. What is the function of rectum means? Okay, where the temporary storage of fecal matter takes place. So before ejection or the excretion, what happens? The fecal matter gets stored temporarily in this rectum only. Then the last part of the rectum is called as
Anus.
the rectal canal anal canal. Through that anal canal, the fecal matter is then passed outside the body or excreted outside the body through the anus. So next, the rectum canal opens into anus for excretion of or ejection of fecal matter. So this is what regarding the large intestine. So in today's class we have discussed regarding the pharynx, stomach, as well as the small intestine and large intestine. The remaining topics we are going to discuss regarding in the next class. Thank you.